Merry meet all. It is Winters Samhuinn in the southern hemisphere, and oh my days, you can hear a moronic neighbour playing bloody drums. Hey duckies. And I've got some very poor looking plants. You know, everything in my garden is pretty poor at the moment. I have not been dedicating time like I usually do because of being on campus, and I've been coming home really stressed, and not because of the workload. And yeah, it's been impacting me adversely, and I'll probably talk a little bit about it at the end of the week once I've settled things up a little bit. But you know, definitely I've had to make some decisions, and I will keep you posted at the end of the week when I've just shored a few things. But anywho's, this sage is sort of like hanging on for dear life. It doesn't even have proper leafage. This will be most definitely heavy. The soil will be heavy. It's not loose enough for the sage, so this is why it's growing like that. I'm going to trim it back a little bit, repot it, but I'm actually going to repot it in a way that I can put it in the greenhouse. And this is my self-heal. I need to give it a good division. There will be so many self-heal plants from that, and I want to use it as it's in the Lamiaceae family, the mint family. I really do want to use it as a interspacing plant for plants in the greenhouse. This greenhouse is in-ground, whereas the other greenhouse, more of the seedlings and plants that like more heat, because it's next to the house. It's a bit more insulated. I've got plants there on shelves, so, and the seedlings tend to really love it, as well as the Australian seedlings. So Australian plants like to have a little bit more of a dry condition and acidic soil. The conditions in the other greenhouse is much better for the propagation of cuttings of Australian plants, so I've basically moved them back in there. However, I will be growing my so-called vegetable garden in my in-ground greenhouse over this winter. On the 21st of June is our midwinter solstice here in the southern hemisphere. Now I live in Ballarat, and it's quite frosty and cold here when it's cold, a little bit extra, yeah. So things that might just survive it in other parts of Melbourne tend to, you know, die at the wayside down here, or up here I should say. So I'm adapting my plans a little bit with what I grow, but I'm really keen to get my greenhouse garden going, and we're going to step in there in a moment. The other plant that I've got here, which is actually liking the cold, but I just need to do some deadheading, is my balm of Gilead. Now if you've never had balm of Gilead, the smell is beautiful. It smells like cedar. Something I like to do before I actually start planting up in a garden of any type, or a garden bed, is straight away think about the pest and make sure I've got plants in there that the pests don't like or that deter, and plant around it. I'd rather prevent it, I'd rather prevent heaps of slugs and bugs rather than dealing. And I've just touched them, I can just smell cedar. So the other one I've got here is thyme, who needs to be repotted as well. I'll be taking these pots into the greenhouse, but without further ado, let's have a look in there and see what I've got up to. Also, what my ducks are using as a step. Oh, that is an old door in a frame. The wood there is perfect. Yeah, Freya, thanks. We needed to see you poop. Yeah, caught on camera. Thank you. Bop, bop. It'll be perfect to pull apart. I just got my 900mm crowbar gooseneck. I need to buy a new drill and a drill driver, also a smasher. So it's a mallet hammer, but it's all steel, so there's no rubber on the end of it, so you can go hard on posts, because I'm going to need to use posts that I've got over there. the driver and drill, and I also need to get some screws for them, because I'm basically going to post into the ground and drill the screws into the post and into the wood inside this in-ground greenhouse. So let's go have a look without further ado. You know, I'm so all over the place. I you know, oh my gosh, being vegan, I also can't afford, well, even if I wasn't vegan, if I can't grow it, I can't afford to eat it. The prices are just too much for me. But it becomes extra important when you're vegan, because you do really rely on the fresh produce, and I just outright can't afford it. So, you know, not having everything done and in a routine with plants, which has been impacted with the shenanigans of the real estate agent and all that sort of stuff. Just so that it, you know, it really does impact, you know, your health and how you can cope with things, but we'll get there. So my first layer, so I've obviously mapped out one garden bed. I haven't done two at the same time. Why? Okay, I'll discuss why. So this first one, I've got cardboard underneath to stop the grass growing cycle. Now it won't stop it completely, but it will slow it down. Like, it will remove a few stages within the first year, and then if you have plants on top, well, the grass is just not going to take hold, is it? So, you know, it doesn't really matter. Then I've got a layer of sawdust from my duck beds, my chook beds. Yeah, there's probably a little bit of poop in there, but nothing to, you know, go home without. With the duck manure, there is no withholding time. It also has a lot less nitrogen than any other animal in when it comes to using manure. So you're not going to get nitrogen burn on your plants. That's why there's no withholding. But there's such a small quantity in there, like, you know, probably 5% out of all that sawdust has got duck poo in there. So anyway, I'm layering this up. I need to get that smasher, i.e. the mallet hammer, which has no rubber. This is steel. Also these new drill and a driver. I already have my wrecking bar or crowbar, the 900mm one. I'll pull apart that door frame, and I'll be using that wood to create the first part of the bed. Now, where I have this foam tray, the bed will actually stop there and then continue towards the back and then go down the side here. I'm focusing on one first, and these are the plants I'll be planting, all the seedlings. What do I have? I'm just going to set up some plants. I was sort of tipped when I moved the trays around. Sorry about my rooster. Oh, days. Oh my gosh. Oh, where was that? Okay. Okay, so the plants I'm going to be planting up. I love my kale. I am feeling so out of sorts not having kale in my life that I've grown. I only had 2 pots of kale when I first moved here, and they went to seed, and I just haven't got around to planting since. The good thing about kale, you don't have to replant it again. You can still use that same plant when you chop it right back. It just comes back to life. It's truly an amazing vegetable. For me, it's a #1 superfood that everyone should be growing, whether you're vegan or not. So I love my kale varieties though, and I've been hanging on to doing kale varieties for so long. Finally going to get started. So I actually do have Siberian kale, which I have grown from seed. It's looking a little molted there, the leaves. They need more sunlight or sunshine. They also need a bit more room to root, which will be coming. So I might as well continue talking about the plants I'm going to be planting, and then I'll continue off what I'm doing with the garden bed. So I have my favourite bean legume, which is vinca. I tend to, when it comes to the first year of any garden bed, I love plants that fix nitrogen in the soil, and that is the legume family. I also have some parsley, Italian parsley. I also have celery from when we started growing that at class. When it comes to, I'm companioning all this, but I will be separating the celery from the parsley in how I companion it, and it'll be boarded up. Continuing on, I pretty much have the same thing all the way down that I'll be putting into that plot, except for some silver beet. And I do have some more silver beet seeds that I want to get going. I currently have in the trade greenhouse on the other side of the chook run, I've got carrot, all season carrot. I've got Copenhagen cabbage. I've got 3 beets, farro beets, Italian cylindrical beets. Only like 3 made it out of the whole lot that I sowed. What else? Brussels sprouts. That's the other one. So very heavy on the brassicas when it's the winter and the cold times. Myself personally, why fight against the natural inclination of the weather? Use it. Some plants like some things more than others, so you just take advantage of it. So that's just the Siberian kale. I have more kale in the seedling propagation greenhouse. I've got Bare Necessities, which is really like a hairy, fuzzy sort of, well, not hairy. It's got very fine, spidery leaves. I've also got more Red Russian, ornamental, and there's another one I'm missing. Anyway, so now I don't have all my companions sorted. Now nasturtiums I love all year round. I just think they're beautiful. They can be frost sensitive. If you plant them in the greenhouse, you can have colour all year round, and this is the whole point. I want them hanging from all the beams of my greenhouses. Now it's not ideal right in the centre because it's your walkway. I'm going to figure out a way to actually put a brace, because the other thing I don't like about the apex, this apex anyway, really I feel like there should be a rod going all the way down, or a fixed piece of wood or something, because I don't like this sag in between. It moves and then water drops on the plants, which is not a bad thing, I guess. There's a bit of irrigation, but still I don't want it sagging because that means it's movement when there's wind. But also having a beam there will provide a junction of which I can actually hang my nasturtiums. I could also probably do something along the lines of the back beam there, so have an actual strip of something, wood or across these 2 beams, and then hang nasturtium pots from that. But anyway, I'll figure that out later. It's more important to get the other stuff in. Now, I don't have all the companions I want, but bear in mind I do have the herbs there on the outside that I'll be bringing in. The self-heal will be interplanted. I've got thyme, I've got balm of Gilead, I've got some sage, which needs a bit of they all need TLC, they'll be brought in here. One of my go-tos when it comes to companioning, especially against slugs, is marigolds. I haven't got them going. I really need to get them going. I think I might sprout them tonight and just go nuts and plant that entire tray full of them, and get them going. They can be frost sensitive, so the American marigolds are quite tall. I usually find they're fine until just a week before the midwinter solstice, and then they keel over. The frost is too much for them. However, they typically say that your American marigolds will start dying back at the end of autumn or or mabon, I should say, fall. But no, I've been pretty lucky, but I do companion them, So I like to grow a microclimate within a climate, if you like. So with that in mind, I never really have plants on their own. They're always in a guild, and I always have natural beneficials around. I don't use pesticides. I don't use fertilizer really. I like to rely more on crop rotation. But when I have some things that are potted, like trees, I'll probably use some vegan rock, or it's like a mineral rock basically, to fertilise, which is a very slow releasing fertilising, which is good anyway. And the other thing I like to use as fertiliser if I have to is sea salt, seaweed, good old seaweed. But that's it. We depend too heavily on fertiliser, and people need to remember Mother Nature didn't go to the store to buy a bag of fertiliser. I think we over-fertilise. I think the drive to have food produced at a certain time not only robs nutrients but creates a dissociation to how long food takes to grow and mature, and there's a timing of things, and not a lot of that's driven by greed and money, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should bloody do it. So marigolds is definitely something I like to companion. Also rosemary, lavender, fennel. I don't have black-eyed Susans. I do want to get some because they're really good. Slugs don't like them. They also don't like marigolds. The other thing that slugs don't like is caffeine, but you be careful because caffeine is quite acidic. Now, if it's on an Australian plant, they're going to like that because they tend to like the more acidic range on your soil. But if you've got a plant that it loves a neutral pH or is more on the positive side of the pH love, it's going to probably not appreciate the coffee. Yeah, itchy nose. So the other thing you can companion for slug control is mint, but as you know, mint can just take over if you're not careful. I've not companioned self-heal for slug control before, so I'm quite interested to see how that works because it's in the Lamiaceae family. It spreads without taking over too much. It's quite slow to spread. So I'm going to be, interested in how that works out. The other companions I also like for kale is the alliums, carrots and beets. So I've got carrot seedlings for the seeds. I haven't germinated yet. And I've got beets, the 3 seedlings. Also, so I like thyme, leeks, shallots. So basically the alliums when it comes to companioning kale. And when it comes to beans, I do like putting cosmos with beans and dill. With beans, they do say not to companion beans with alliums though. So just, your placement. Just look at your placement when you're doing your companion. So I like to grow a food forest. I don't necessarily like to grow everything that you can eat together in the same spot. I feel like it's just too much of a target. I don't have as many companions going right now as I'd like, so I don't mind withholding the planting right now. So basically, this pay coming, I'll be, hopefully this pay, if not this pay, then in 2 weeks, I will be getting my drill and driver sorted out, and the smasher. The steel mallet. My ducks are probably freaking out. Got all these cockatiels flying over, white ones. Oh, they're loud. There you go. So yeah, once I've got those things sorted, there we go. The duck run. Ooh, scary bear. Oh, scary bear. Hello. What are you doing? I swear, the fattest sparrows of Wendouree reside here. They're all so round, they're like tennis balls. Oh gosh, so funny. Hey, I think I've got some calendula seedlings, maybe. Because I did use this with calendula before. Anywho's, I got distracted with the quackins and the galahs. Sorry, the cockatiels. Where was I up to? Oh yeah, so I just got to get those tools sorted. Then I'll finish doing this bed. And along the way, I'll probably put a couple more buckets of sawdust with a little bit of the naturally occurring duck poo in there, because it will be from the bedding that they sleep in at night. And a thin layer of soil. I personally find, especially with fibrous rooted plants that don't have a deep taproot, even if I've got a deep taproot, doesn't really matter. You don't need to have a whole depth of soil to plant them in, yeah. And the pot that they are being planted from are basically being, the soil in there is usually enough for the plants to start off with, and then the roots start slowly to spread out. And what the roots are going to find, they have plenty of nutrient-rich matter, humus, organic matter, with a little bit of soil, and they're going to like that. But yeah, so I'm going to get my skates on tonight with sprouting out some marigold seeds, also Cosmos Bipinatas. So I basically like a ratio of 2 to 1, beneficial to edible. And beneficial to me usually is a herb and or flower that is not necessarily looked at as culinary, but often is medicinal use. And that's how I manage pest, basically. Now, this area will be a duck-free zone. Because they will just love all this. I can just see all this disappearing in less than 10 minutes. They'll go, oh, yum yum. So no duckies. This is my vegetable shop. This is my food, and get it to a point where I have so much excess too that I can give it to my birds as well. But we gotta get this started, don't we? So once I've got this bed here going, with the layers, and then also with the proper raised bed border with the bits of wood and the tools I need to pull all that stuff apart in the garden to repurpose out here. By the time I do that, I'll have more wood chip in here. I'll have a thin coat of soil. I may scatter some mineral rock, vegan mineral rock. And that will probably be sitting for a week or two. So I guess it's kind of ameliorating the soil, getting ready to be planted. Then I'll be planting, so all this will be planted up in here with beneficials. And then I can free up these trays, these racks. I don't know if they're going to stay here, because I basically will be also garden bed extending to this side. I'm not sure quite what I'm going to do here. I mean, I might even completely rack up that face, with shelving for seedlings that are interim to come into here. That's an idea, isn't it? That would be cool. Because I like having, the other greenhouse for seedlings that are still fragile, and here's sort of like intermediate before going outside. They're almost ready to put on their adult boots on, but not quite. They're kind of like teenagers. So before putting them out into the wild and woolly out there, I like a intermediate sort of space. This greenhouse is a bit cooler. It's still warm, but not as warm as the one attached to my house. And so I don't know, we'll see. I might even create some sort of shelf to put along the beams there, so that would be an idea. So especially using fence board, which that will mean that will come out here, so I could actually put seedlings up on a shelf if you like. And that's one way of utilizing space, and it won't take any sun or light from the growing plants. So that's an idea. The only thing with that, if the greenhouse moves a little bit, then they could topple over. I don't know. Bit of thinking to do there. But I could even just pretty much continue doing the garden bed all the way around there, stop it halfway, and just keep this as shelved. So I'm using this tray at the moment to hold some succulents. Now, how much time have I got? I'll separate post that. My strategy with my ducks and permaculture. So I will do that on another post, I think. But I basically have come to the thing that I can't have healthy succulents and ducks in the same area unless they are fenced off. So that's part of what I'm going to talk about in the next. But also I want to start really utilising the animals I have to help me do the garden, to help me grow, to help me manage things. So they're not just running roughshod over the garden. I say that as they're streaking through the backyard here. So anyway, this greenhouse is 2 by 4 meters. I think it's worth, if you have the room, to have a greenhouse that is in ground to grow your food crop. And it's also, if you're not buying your seedlings and you're producing seedlings, that's where I think it's worth having a greenhouse just for that, with shelves for shelving. And I do have a arch in which I'm going to do an open air orchid. Not an actual orchid as per se, but to grow trees in that manner and other plants. But one thing at a time. I'm pretty much done with my shelved greenhouse, and so now it's time for the food, the Tucker greenhouse. Also do flooring. A really good tip for slugs and snails: they don't like sharp rock. So if you line sharp rock as a walkway, that will deter slugs and snails. They don't like it. It's too harsh on their... Oh, look at them. They're right into the pots. Yeah, little menaces. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, what are you doing? Oh, you got your beaks in my pots. Oh, straight into the time. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go now and get these pots in the greenhouse. Oh, they're so cute. But I'll do this post a little bit later that I'm going to mention about my ducks and managing my ducks in a permaculture method. Because I don't want to continuously have... It's wet. It's not their fault. When the weather's not wet, this is fine. It's not muddy. But now it's wet. It's muddy with poop and mud. And yeah, just a bit of pain in the ass to... You have to change your shoes, sort of thing. But I do have a solution. So stay tuned for that post. Managing garden beds and ducks who like to stick their beaks in them. They don't do as much damage as chooks. No way near. No way near. But you still need to manage them. Blessed be and Mary Pat. You say Bella Bella? You say goodbye, Bella Bella? Bella Bella Bella. Bop bop bop. Bop bop bop.